So you think you've been red pilled? Think again. Let me show you why.
All right, we're going back to the Masons. The way I was approached, it was a smart approach. I was approached, didn't know much about the Masons, and they used an actor named Jerry Iding on Maui, who I'd done a lot of shows with on Maui. And he approached me with the angle of, listen, you got to meet the guys, the boys at the Masons. They love us because, I'm an actor, so you would fit right in. There's a lot of memorization, reciting. It's basically just a guys club where you get together and help each other out in business. It'll be beneficial for you, and all you got to do is your memorization, acting skills, and it'll be a great fellowship thing. They have some drinks, they get together, they discuss. There's no ladies, it's just like the guys getting together and forming business relationships. I'm like, okay. So I go in and, none the wiser, and go through all this thing. They fast track me. There's chairs. They fast track me up. So I'm jumping chairs where they're going to make me a grand master. And so in 1 year, I'm jumping like 3 chairs. And the next year, I'm jumping 5 chairs. So there's like, different stations you go up on. So I'm being fast tracked, just like I was with Robertson's organization. In that organization, the different people, guys, brothers, were approaching me. And I found there was a lot of CIA operatives in it. And one guy named Lauren Holmberg. He had a friend named Paul that was in it. They're telling me all about the operations the CIA did during the Twin Towers. You couldn't believe that people believed the pancake theory, and that they were the ones that orchestrated the fall of the towers to make an endless war, and all this stuff. So they're giving me all this information and saying they're fascinated by my story. And so then they tell me, you're going to have all this information given to you. It's going to be a whole new life for you. You're one of the elite now. Just don't try to make a difference. They're telling me, don't try to help the general public. And they gave me examples of that, where they said in Oakland, California, Paul, the friend of Lauren Holmberg, who was at the table with me, they came up together simultaneously, and at that first meeting. And they said that at Oakland, Paul had witnessed a young couple be murdered on the street by this African-American guy, and that they had a blind set up, a blind on the street, which is very interesting, from a abandoned building. And they watched it, and Paul radioed in, should we intervene? They said, no, don't get involved. They let them be murdered right in front of them. Shows you how the agencies felt about the general public. So a young couple gets killed. And then the guy who did it was a target, comes up to the blind. He knew they were there and starts talking to them. And Paul had a conversation with them. So they're showing us that, backing up the idea of don't try to make a difference or else. So I said I can't help myself. Even though they said they're fascinated by my story, they want to hear my story. I said I can't help but write to try to make a difference. I can't stop doing that. So that turned me into a situation where I was no longer desired. I was more a threat, because this was like 2 years in. They approached me and were ready to
Did you
groom me
end
for the
up
top.
participating in any rituals?
Just the ones that are prescribed. But the one ritual they had me do was the initiative one, where you go and they have you blindfolded initially. You knock on the door, and it's a ceremonial thing where they have a sword placed on your bare breast, and you have one shoe off, one shoe on, and you're in this basically sackcloth. And they put this on the bare breast, the point of a sword, and you have to say the vows that if you ever betray the Masons, you will die in the cable length from shore, disemboweled in the shallows. And that's why my son Kirk was killed at a lap pool on a military base
Kirk or
in
Sean?
Japan. It was Kirk. Kirk was killed in the lap pool. Sean was killed with the X-Files death by a snowplow.
Oh,
Believe it or
right.
not, they put a snowplow up against his car, so to signify that. So yeah, so they do different styles of doing it. What it shows is Hollywood linked with the agencies. One murder is an agency murder or Mason's murder with the agencies in it. The other murder is a Hollywood murder. So my sons were taken out that way. What they tried to kill my last surviving son was to choke him on a soccer field, because I played soccer. So at a Ventura middle school, they brought in a Mexican kid, brought him in. That first day he's brought in, he attacks my son on the soccer field, 4th grade, and expertly takes him down, uses his shirt to choke him really bad. The marks were there. And if it wasn't for his best friend being present to throw this kid off, he would have died. The principal covered for it and uh, had the kid quietly leave after he'd come in. 3 days later, he quietly leaves and tries to build a case against Aiden. And so I had pictures of the choke marks, everything. Aiden almost died. So Sean dies the X-Files death. Hollywood's got their hand in it. They want to say, like, basically in Men in the High Castle, you have this one agent kills this other guy and says, Smith sends his regards. So that's like Hollywood saying, your son dies, we're sending our regards, we killed him. And then the agency takes out Kirk with a Masonic death, and that's like them saying, we send our regards. Then the soccer death was for Aiden. He was to die on the soccer field, choked to death. So whatever that's associated with, I'm not entirely sure. So, but there was a meaning behind that. They're very, very detailed on what they choose. So that's what happened with the Masons. When I left the Masons, I said, I have jobs I have to do. I can't afford this time. I got accused of drawing all kinds of people away because when I left, they said I was popular and all these other brothers were leaving, and they blamed me for it. What they did was they had a blackball session where they literally blackballed. And a guy named Christopher actually contacted me, who liked me in the organization, and said they're trying to do a vote to blackball you out, which means you're a traitor. And the traitor's death is disemboweled in the shallows, a cable length from shore, right? So I don't know what my death would have been like, but that's what was being set up, was that I was being literally blackballed to justify that assassination. So they had this blackballing event. Christopher let me know it was happening. He covered whatever they were trying to make up, and they said that they had talked to me and I was refusing to cooperate. They never contacted me. So he got in the middle of it, and he said he got all kinds of flack from the CIA guys and the Masons for intervening and letting me know. So that's really interesting how far they went. But that's the Mason side of it. So yeah. But as far as Steven Spielberg.
So Kirk was the first one to be unalived? The first son? Or
Kirk was the first one, yes. And it's an important thing you just raised. Kirk was killed right when they're bringing in the attorney to handle the case. So they kill Kirk to rattle me. And then they're bringing in this guy in 2009 to represent me, to help me get my rights back. And that's when the honeypot wife was working with that guy who had been her landlord, who was then an attorney supplied to us by Warner Brothers.
Ralph.
To be it was a defense attorney. Well, this was Ralph Rios was the one that was the handoff after Rankin. So Tony Rankin's brought in first in 2009 because that's the statute of limitations for Matrix. You get 10 years, 1999 to 2009. So I wasn't claiming anything. So they threw in this guy to make sure I'd claim, because then they can control the process, get all the evidence, and make sure I lose and say he lost. So they wanted to do it before the statutes ran out because they could profit off that. And that's exactly what they did. They brought him in and ran the statutes out. And it took about 2.5 years, 3 years to do that. So it was very highly orchestrated. And keep in mind that Tony Rankin had that suspended license where he wasn't eligible to practice law. And they did that on purpose to have him represent me, saying he forgot at one point, so that they could control and say, well, it wasn't legitimate. His representation wasn't legitimate. Anyway, as a double whammy to make sure I would lose. So it was incredible what was employed. Many, many tactics overlaid.
And
so
that's also the stooge that got the tape recorder switched.
That's right. He had the wrong tape recorder handed back to me. Yeah.
Do you still have that?
I do. I've got the MP3 of the entire session, and it has him even eating lunch. It's a 7.5-hour recording.
Have you ever shared that in public?
Yeah, we actually posted it on our website now on tomalthouse.com. You can hear it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're not holding back now. We're not holding back. So you asked about Steven Spielberg too. Steven Spielberg, before Sean's murdered, right, and before Kirk's murdered, he does two things that we're very well aware of. Minority Report, and I think it's 2000 or 2002, well before they're murdered. And he does Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks. Now, picture this. In Minority Report, Philip K. Dick's novel is what was utilized, right, after Philip K. Dick died. So the strategy that was come up by Disney, Mike Lang of Disney and Harvey Weinstein and Michael Eisner, the heads of Disney, was that they would wait till the author's dead or help influence the author dying, honeypot wives, attorney supplied, throwing the rights, and then claim the work by buying off family members to support that they would be given the work over to Disney, saying it was intended for you, that the author stole it from siblings. We're working for you because the rewards were being offered. So when the author dies, they employed their family with rewards to go, okay, it was meant for Disney, and they go to the court venue of their choosing, which would be the 30-mile zone in Hollywood, TMZ, and they would win there because there'd be no opposition, and the rights would be given over. So that's the strategy Disney came up with. Death of the author is when you make your move, like Philip K. Dick. You steal the work when they're dead. Now, they claimed in a Vanity Fair article with a Mike Lang. Mike Lang left his position, along with Joel Silver leaving his position. When I continued forward in 2012, they both left, one in April, one in May, because I was going to go to the judge and say, look, we're not being given any of our rights here. And so what happened was they both left at the same time. Since Mike Lang left at the same time Joel Silver, the producer of Matrix, left, who was a defendant, we learned in the Vanity Fair article that there was a warehouse in New Jersey that had all these hard copy scripts stored that Disney did not own. So Miramax Films was formed in 1993 when I submitted. In 1993, Miramax was filmed to be the library of hard copy scripts that Disney doesn't own but wants to have the rights to. And that's why the strategy was employed through Mike Lang of Disney, who then took my wife home on my birthday after the case was thrown in 2016. He sends all kinds of emails on my birthday saying, Becca, come live with me for 60 days in his mistress pad in Spokane, Washington. We got that. So it's amazing what we have. So it all ties together. We would never have known Disney was so involved, but then we found it out through the Mike Lang action. Also, Joel Silver runs back to Disney when the case is thrown through Mike Lang, Tony Rankin and his classmates from University of Berkeley. Then we find that Joel Silver runs to Disney and they give him Oblivion, which is when he takes what was done in Matrix and gets it right, working with the Disney holding on to it for him. And he gets the robot-like agents. He gets the identical figures facing off. He gets the little girl pointing to the sun. This cast looks just like my daughter. He gets the stadium scene. He gets the flying pods. He even names the main characters Jack and Julie, my two siblings that were bought to work for Disney. So what you got is this incredible overlay. Now let's go to Steven Spielberg. So Steven Spielberg in 2002 is also doing this because, like you said, Peter, his best friend, took my housemate Kirsten Leslie and got her saying, look, you'll have dinner with Spielberg and you'll also be in Sweet Charity in Hollywood in a theater production if you sleep with me, because I'm Spielberg's best friend. And then he called me and said, you know, you're effing dead in Hollywood. Don't ever come. Once he got Kirsten, he got my script through Kirsten, and she gave in and started sleeping with this guy she didn't like.
Sorry to interrupt. You have that phone call as well when he called you and threatened you.
He said, don't you ever effing come to LA. You're a dead man.
That's
Spielberg's best friend. I have it on tape somewhere, yes, in my files. So what happens is, and I'm going to have it surface
so we can look at having that in your website as well.
You will see it coming up. You'll see it coming up. We're putting all sorts of things on there, just amazing, including the pitch session being verified by Lenny Coco, who was Bonaventura's best friend, the exec who claims he discovered Shepherd of the Story. So we got so much. It's incredible. That's why they did all this to me. Now, go to Spielberg 2002, Minority Report. Philip K. Dick has died. Philip K. Dick said, the author of Minority Report, the actual book, said, I don't want my work being altered in any way. But Spielberg takes it anyway after he dies and says, I think Philip K. Dick would be pleased with what we did. And that's why they altered Man in the High Castle too. They put all my stuff and Kirk and Sean in that. So let's look at it really quickly. So Minority Report, you have it totally changed from what Philip K. Dick said he didn't want changed to a character played by Tom Cruise in the film, where he is going to be put in stasis for a pre-crime because his son Sean is murdered. There is no son Sean or murder in Philip K. Dick's novel, but Spielberg adds it as a pre-crime in a movie about pre-crime because he's saying Tom Althouse, which the character name for Tom Cruise is Captain John Anderton, which is basically Anderson. Captain John is my dad's Navy rank captain and name, John. And Anderton is what they did to Thomas A. Anderson with a T. It's overkill. And so they have my dad's rank and name as Tom Cruise's character, who's going to be put away for life in stasis in a pods, which is in my film, because his son Sean has been murdered, which my son Sean is murdered after the Spielberg makes the film. So he did pre-crime by making the film and kills my son later. Now it gets worse. In Saving Private Ryan, what he does is go further. You got to understand, what did Peter say? You're a dead man if you come to Hollywood. So Spielberg hates you. So, okay, so Spielberg's got an obsession on this. He's working with Disney to profit off the stolen work. So what he does is, in Saving Private Ryan, he does these names which are fictitious. There is no real life Jim Ryan and the brothers that are killed in war, and some character, as Tom Hanks plays, goes and saves them. It doesn't happen. It's not true. It's made up of plausible storylines. All right. So he arbitrarily picks these names apparently, but the names he picks is Jim, which is the lead character name of Thomas A. in the original works Immortals. He also picks Sean, of course, right? One of the brothers that are killed in Saving Private Ryan is Sean. So what's the other one going to be? Kirk Daniel, his middle name, Kirk Daniel. They put Daniel. And that's not all. You also have the man who receives the message that the brothers have been killed on the same day and walks it to the colonel in that scene with the ticker tape where they're all like, the secretary's taking the calls in, right, of those who have been died and passing out their papers, the recordings of it. Well, the papers that this man gathers and takes to the colonel, who is the man carrying the message? Boyd. Boyd. Why is that important? Because Boyd was the one that delivered my screenplay to Warner Brothers. He's the attorney we hired, Boyd and Boyd of Norfolk. James Boyd is the one that was employed to submit it to Warner Brothers. So they've got my son's names as murdered and Saving Private Ryan or killed. And then you've got the man taking the message, just like the real life Boyd did, to the colonel, to the story department. Isn't that something?
How many?
So then, yeah.
How many coincidences would someone need to line up before they conclude that is the probability and statistically impossible?
Beautiful. Let's add some more then, since you said that. So we've got something too where you've got Spielberg who has an axe to grind. You've got a motive, right? And how clever, they want to be clever, so make a movie about pre-crime while you're stealing it from another author that died, that said he didn't work altered, about yourself doing pre-crime. You're saying Sean will die in the future, and we will put Tom Althouse, the author, away in a mental institution for life once Sean is killed, because he's going to commit crime. So when Sean dies, they hauled me off with a SWAT team to the hospital saying I should be put away for life because I would pre-crime. So what happens is, even though I wasn't going to hurt anybody, so now go to Man in the High Castle. Again, Spielberg and them lifting from Philip K. Dick's novel, where it had nothing to do with films. It had nothing to do with films changing our world. It was an article, a book, a newspaper article in the novel. So what you have is they change it to the film that can make a lot of difference in our world and change our world back to the right timeline, which is what we have right here in my hands. They changed it. And not only that, in that we have found now my birthday twice on the, again, remember Matrix, they put in my birthday, dad's name, high school, all that. So in Man in the Castle, they use the interrogation scene file, just as they did in Matrix, to have my birthday, my mom's birthday, Sean's birthday, Kirk's birthday, and 9/11, and Otika Ball, Senator David Boren's niece, who I was engaged to be married with, who was at the pitch session, her birthday, all in the file. And it's doubled down. My birthday appears twice, both on the one document and on the passport of the assassin. It's incredible. Yeah. So this is overkill. Also, Otika Ball's birthday appears twice also. Otika Ball's birthday, not only in Man in the High Castle, but in The Matrix again, in that interrogation scene, Neo's birthday is Otika Ball's birthday. My fiance was at the pitch session.
When did that come out?
That was 1999. And then Man in the High Castle, that came out in like the 20-somethings. So you've got, this has just been done over and over and over again. Again, what did they do in The Good Place, which is done by the same thieves and characters in the Cabal? What they do in The Good Place? In The Good Place, and people have figured this out, that it's not really a series to be a story. People are noting that it's a series done to attack somebody, to mock somebody. It doesn't even tie together. And they have a train station with a kind of a clownish like amusement park train, like those small trains, like amusement park that kids ride on, that takes you in and out of the good place, which is what? From the Immortals, where the train station ties you, the train transport. And so what they do is they say that good place is actually hell. The good place is people think they're in heaven, but they're not. They're in hell. And so you have the main person in charge of hell. What's his name? Shawn Michael. What's my son's name? Shawn Michael. And the main girl character comes before Shawn Michael in his office of hell and says, my birthday is, what does it come down to? October 14th, 1982. When was Shawn born? October 14th, 1982. And who's she talking to? Shawn Michael.
Wow.
They don't stop there. So one more thing. Then they have the AI assistant in that office with Shawn Michael, or the Michael Shawn, whatever, Shawn Michael, with the character just said the birthday, Shawn's birthday, October 14th, 1982. Then they have the AI go like this, and people wouldn't catch this part unless they knew what was going on here. So Spielberg goes, they go further. They have the AI suddenly go pointing, what's that? What's that? What's that? Doesn't make much sense, does it? Except that was Shawn's favorite game growing up. As a daddy, you remember them when they're little. The favorite game we played was, what's that? What's that? What's
How
that?
would they know that?
Because they would have the ex-honeypot wife,
Oh, right. Of
Shawn's
course.
mom. Shawn's mom. She saw me playing that game all the time, and she's totally with them. Isn't that something? So Shawn Michael, Shawn's birthday, and Shawn's game, and all the same scene. And they're saying that Shawn is leading in hell. That's the message they're giving to the father.
Yeah. Yeah.
On top of Minority Report, pre-crime, on top of Man That Castle, on top of Saving Private Ryan, and more.
Yeah. And
So
they
that
even
shows you the
included
import.
some of your work in Interstellar, didn't they?
They took my best scene, and that's one that crushed me the most. They did have an effect. I admit, honestly, what Christopher Nolan did destroyed me because it just hurt me so bad. He took the scene that was to honor my children's death, and he turned it into just overkill. Because the one scene that Wachowski didn't use, and I kept saying they should have used it. They should have used it. It was the best scene I had. Greg, my friend who I pitched it to, or worked with the fight battle sequences with, cried. I cried when I talk about it. And that scene, they put it verbatim, basically into Interstellar. He used it up. What's what Joel Silver called using up the story. He said on the set in Matrix, "I hope we used up the rest of the story."
But
So
when
Christopher
you
Nolan did.
but you just said, just so people understand, I think we need a little bit more clarity on that, because you just said it was the scene that you wrote to honor your dead sons. However,
Yeah, the loss of
your
my sons. Yeah,
no, the loss of your sons, but your sons only died years after you wrote The Matrix.
the loss of my sons. They were taken from me before I wrote The Matrix. They were taken from me, reprogrammed to think I was narcissistic, bad, and evil. They took
Oh,
my sons before I wrote The Matrix.
oh, they
I was
did.
writing it. I was writing. Yes, Pat Robertson's organization reprogrammed them, and that's why Sean and Kirk were killed too. Is because they came and told me they were remembering what had happened. So they were killed after that. They were never supposed to talk to me again. And they're supposed to think that I was evil, bad, everything Pat Robertson said, crazy, dangerous with a gun. And so they were programmed. And Kirk had said to me when he came to me on Maui, when he was older, before he died, he said, they told me these sessions would never end until I agreed that you were evil, Dad. So I pretended to go along. So they did take them away from me before I wrote it. I wrote it to try to get them back and then also honor their memory because they were taken. And then they were killed when they confided in me that this had happened to them.
What did you do during that time when they were taken away from you? Did you try to react and counteract
There's
them?
nothing I could do. There's nothing I could do. They had the honeypot wife, the one that knew about the games and everything, was rewarded very well. She went off to live with her, be next to her gynecologist. It's just sick. She's really a gross woman, but she had a fantasy that she would have a sexual relationship with her gynecologist, whatever that is. She was nightmares. Yes, that was her fantasy. So she followed him down to Franklin, North Carolina, even though he was married to supposedly her best friend and had an affair down there. And his name was Dr. Archer, and that's why Christopher Nolan and them made that Star Trek series and named the guy Captain Archer. They're giving honor to the guy who was sleeping with the ex-wife.
And your kids were very young back then, so they were still living with their mum.
That's right. I had no rights. I was destroyed. That's why when Otika Ball, remember I said about Otika, that they put the birthday of Otika in as Neo's birthday in Matrix and put it in Man in the High Castle double time. She's the one that saved my life. She allowed me to write the Matrix by allowing me to survive when everything had been taken from me. Jobs, education, everything was gone. Bless her heart, she took me in and allowed me a place safely to compose the work and finish the work, and I was able to do it. And then the Rockefellers took us in. So Otika Ball saved me. And then she was finally bought away by Disney and Spielberg's group. Because they got Kirsten, then they went for Otika. They didn't want me to have any support left.
Yeah, so when they take Kristen,
They took
she,
Kirsten in 1995 and 96, and then they had the Disney hitting hard on Otika in 1996. They had the guy who had played the Candlestick on Beauty and the Beast, which is Disney, approach her, and she was promised North Carolina Theater, Broadway, all this stuff, and they did a really good job working on her, and finally they got her to sleep with this other guy. She felt that she betrayed me, so she was not. It just was amazing, and I lost her too. So I was to be without anybody, and
uh,
Robertson was using this system of approaching people with anonymouses, and also had this guy named Paul Manshine, Dr. Paul Manshine, who was utilized to, with a letter of instruction from Pat Robertson, saying, from his attorneys and Pat Robertson saying, test the validity of lay people using the terms dangerous and crazy with a gun on Tom. So what they're doing is Pat Robertson had passed that slander down through his organization, where everybody's supposed to say that Tom Althouse is crazy and dangerous. Then he knew he could be in trouble for that legally, so he hired a doctor to say that it should be legitimized for lay people to slander me with dangerous and crazy with a gun. And he did. He wrote an 11-page article, whatever Robertson wanted, he paid him to, and gave him a letter of instruction. That Dr. Manshine becomes Dr. Manning in the original Matrix story. So in the interrogation scene, there's a reference to Dr. Manning, who was going to take Neo down. Joel Silver, who is the producer of the Stolen Matrix, he uses Manning also then in a film he had to reflect that Dr. Manshine and give him honor, as I used Manning. So it just doesn't stop. People in the future will see all these Easter eggs like stacked like a mountain. They're all through all this. Why? Because this work is worth billions. Why? Because it changed the way humanity thinks. Why? Because that's why I wrote it, to whisper through art, to try to change our humanity, that people like ourselves that actually have compassion will finally fit into our society and stop this game of calling it that all of us are dark and evil. No, there comes a time where if we're at the edge of the cliff and it's me or loved ones, I'll let myself be pushed over, not my loved ones. There is a line we draw. We don't go to a lizard brain where it's all about ourselves in the end, which Warner Bros. Is trying to push, that we're all dark in the end, we all look after ourselves. No, it's not true. That's why our work also is offensive and dangerous in its original form to be made. And they keep saying, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it. We make the original film, even though Joel Silver's saying he used up the rest of the story. We make the original film, they're saying nobody will come and see it, but they'll come and see it. Love it or hate it, they'll want to see how it matches up. You said 195? You're absolutely right. They are there, including Jacks the back of the neck, red pill, blue pill, squiddies, little girl train station, point to the sun, liquid mirrors you can put your hand through or pass at the train station with liquid mirrors. And also, if you take the red pill, also you can see how bad the scenes were lifted in that visual storyboard. They didn't write a script. They made a visual storyboard to make it up on set. That was told by me by the fight choreographer that was on set. And a 20-foot rule was instituted that you can't step within 20 feet of the work or you'll be fired on set because you're not supposed to see the Immortals title. And the screenplay was in hand along with a 600-page storyboard. That's how they pitched it to the suits. They would make it up. They were too dumb otherwise. So all these scenes will be shown later on how they lifted it badly and how when you put it back to the original script, it's smart. Like take, for instance, real quick, the silver pen of the architect. The silver pen of the architect, they have it in the architect's room of monitors, which is supposed to be his room, changing channels. They have a close-up of it as he changes channels with it. It's a joke. They're making the silver pen mocking the work, and people are eating this up. The silver pen belongs to Neo in the original work. It represents his ability for free will and creativity. It's destroyed in front of him by an agent. Also, the room of monitors belongs to Smith in the original work. Smith is able to monitor all the different agents to see their life signs, to see if they're showing feelings, because no agents are allowed to show feelings. So they stay and do their kills and everything. Not allowed to think about feeling. Otherwise, they're terminated with these switches at the room monitors. So they take the room monitors and give it to the architect as if he's watching reruns with a pen to change channels. So once you put it back the way it's supposed to be, like the liquid mirrors at the train station, that's your security devices. You pass through liquid mirror if you take the red pill. You're part of the program. You can pass through liquid mirrors. And if you don't have the pill, you'll be cut in half by them if you follow somebody through, which happens in the original screenplay. But they lift it and put it in Morpheus' smoking room and have it as if, Neo's just putting his hand through. That's cool. That is not it. Go back to the train
Makes
station.
no
They
sense.
make no, and at the train station, because they took away the security devices, which are liquid mirrors, they have Neo running down the train tracks and coming back and appearing back, going, "Whoa, I'm back again."
Also doesn't
Stupid.
make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Then they throw in the train man from Ghost. People will wake up and see this is garbage. They just used everything they thought was cool, like they told the suits they would. Because the suits at Warner Brothers in the first meeting said, "We know we have something cool. We don't understand it. Can you explain it?" The Wachowskis couldn't. Joel Silver got it wrong with robots in the program. No. And then after I explained it during my depositions and such, when Disney gives them Oblivion later, he has robot-like agents in the program. He gets it right then, because I explained how stupid it was before. So all this is going on, including switching the red pill and blue pill. And again, let me just hit this real quick if we have time. The red pill in the original work is not offered with the blue pill in Morpheus's smoking lounge. First of all, Morpheus doesn't offer the red pill. Smith offers the red pill in the original work, and it's smarter during the interrogation scene. The red pill is offered to Neo because the architect has ordered Smith to give it, and Smith hates Neo. He doesn't want to give him the program. He wants him to die. So he has to do it. So he offers the red pill very unwillingly and says, "I have to offer you this, the immortal program." And then he lays out a gun, and Neo says, "In mine, so am I supposed to use that?" And Smith snarly says, "Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, if you like to. Go ahead." He wants him dead, but he's following orders. So that gets Neo into the program because he's told that you take the pill or you and your family dies. His family is there too. They strip that out. The stakes are higher if you are facing your family's death if you don't do what they want. That's why he takes the red pill in the original work. But they take the family out. It makes no sense after that. So what happens is the blue pill is offered to Neo after he's cut from the program. Come on, there's so much logic here. You're cut from the program. You got to have a way to get back in. So in Underground, they offer him the blue pill, not based on the blood of the children, so he can get back in the program and face Smith and the architect. Makes sense. And there's painful side effects to the blue pill because it's not made from the adrenochrome or the growth hormones of the blood of the children. But it has painful side effects, but it's not abusing the children. The red pill is bad. How many people say they're red pilled? That is the blood of the children. So they reversed it. So people will say they're red pilled. Every time someone says they're red pilled or to cite red pill, they are saying, "We believe in ingesting the blood of the children." You are saying that because that's what they set you up to say. And now with people hearing that it's been reversed, they need to get it right and say, "No, the blue pill is the good pill." They're going to fight us on that. That's why we put stuff on our website, tomalthous.com now. My publicist girls put up the stuff that says, "What if you took the wrong pill?" I want people to get the word out. That's why she put it up, to get the word out that this is a psyop to get people to agree to the ingesting of the blood of the children by saying they're red pilled. Stop saying you're red pilled. It is done by failed writers that are monkeys, and not to insult monkeys, that have changed the pill order. And that's why in The Boys, where they put all my stuff in there too, all our names are in The Boys, that recent series, they're going all off on it. They even have a scene where they go, the main character looks like Wolverine, whose wife is what? Becca, my honeypot wife's name. And his best friend, whatever his name is, the best friend, his wife is Monique, which is Trinity's name in the original work. So they have both the love interest in my real life as the characters of these guys in The Boys. But in The Boys, they also have this. They have the character, the Wolverine guy talking to, or like looking like guy, talking to this innocent character, or the character we like most, saying, "Look, if you take the blue pill, you're taking the right pill, and the red pill's the bad pill." They're mocking it because then they go like this. Wait, well, F it. It's switch it. Just F that. It's switch. They're mocking that I'm saying that the blue pill is the good pill. So they mock it. They mock it
So
right in
interesting.
the film. Yeah. So all you
Wow.
go. All those Easter eggs in one. The reason they put that there now, Sophia Stewart, that claims to be the mother of Matrix, says they wouldn't do that. Yeah, they did, Sophia Stewart. And then she was told to put it on her site after I brought this forward initially. she put down, get this, she put in her site, and it was Warner Brothers telling her to. She works with Warner Brothers. The red pill is based on the blood of the children and is the good pill. The blue pill is the bad pill. Are you freaking kidding me? What kind of pea brain do you have, Sophia Stewart? The red pill is based on the blood of the children is the good pill? Well, you just revealed yourself, witch. Unbelievable, unbelievable stupidity. So yeah, anyway, she was all upset that I was told that all those inserts were in the first Matrix, because the whole trick they were doing was not to have me claim Matrix 1. Sophia Stewart had called me. She was a handler. She called initially through Warner Brothers and was working with the attorney that was supplied with a suspended license, who was classmates with theirs, saying, don't claim Matrix 1. I'm Matrix 1. You're 2 and 3. You're the missing link. You know, that was the first conversation recorded. And then what happens is, which we'll put up on our site too. And then what you have is initial contact. Warner Brothers story department guy contacted me after that and saying, look, all your information is in here in the first graphic. So I went back and on an air. She had been on an air with a BBC correspondent with her to handle me. And when I told the BBC correspondent we'd just been notified that all this stuff's in the first Matrix, she goes, she cuts Sophia Stewart off. She tries to ramble on and says, I want to hear more about Tom and this insert. And Sophia Stewart cut the interview. She didn't want it said, and she raged, saying that that I must have been involved somehow. They were upset because that proved Matrix 1 was my work. So yeah. Anyway, that was the whole strategy, not having him claim Matrix 1, and then say if he's not claiming Matrix 1, then any matchups in 2 and 3 don't count, therefore there's no matchups. When there's all these matchups, 195. So that's how they did it, using Sophia Stewart and the supplied attorney to say don't claim 1. And even in my depositions where that tape recorder was found, or given the wrong was given to me, and they said they have no working drafts, right? They on that, I was asked the question, why did you not claim Matrix 1, right? And you hear Rankin go, objection, objection, objection to what? Don't answer it, can't answer it. Why not? It's a direct question, there's attorneys say. You know, why did you not claim Matrix 1? Well, the answer is because he told me not to. But he doesn't want that said. Then he says this on the tape. He goes, okay, you could answer if it doesn't involve me in any way. Look at him trying to cover his butt. He's the one that made it happen. So it's just all coming out now. We got them. We got them by the round things dangling. We got them. And now we post everything online. Their biggest fear was having these things posted online on our website. And now that website's secure, because the first thing Rankin did when he came to represent me, besides promising $100,000 of his own money in, finding a copyright attorney, which he lied about, all of that stuff, he said, you need to strike your website. They can use it against you. But he had already made sure they had copies of everything. They never wanted the evidence shown. So now we have all the evidence going up in the best way possible. And they were also concerned about the music, the original music. And we have that here, the original music. So I don't know where I just put it now. Oh, right here. So we have the tapes of the original music that was submitted. So that's an actual copy of the tape submitted to Warner Brothers along with the screenplay. And they're very concerned about that. And on there is George Michael for the end credits. And so that's why they wanted the music tapes too. They wanted these out because George Michael, it's proven that he was the one that had read the full script before it was submitted. Just like here on the last page of the story, you'll see George Michael, praying for time. So George Michael praying for time shows that he actually read the full script before it was submitted in 93. They didn't want any proof of any work being submitted in 93 or before, because they didn't put Matrix title down until 1996. And we're given rights to it until 96. So that's why these drafts that restored to my home, which I'm told by Michael Yako is by the CIA, restored to my home this year, 2 days before Easter, all these working drafts. This is draft 1 from 1993. It was done by the agencies, I'm told, their film department. So the CIA are the good guys right now. They're restoring the work for the original author. They want us to win now. So it's switched up. FBI does not want us to win. The CIA wants us to win, CIA. So watch for the FBI to fall and the CIA to actually thrive.